Hey y'all, it's Fa, and today we'll be discussing the environment. No, I'm not talking about planting trees or saving the turtles, although those are all very important and please keep doing those things. But today I want to talk about the relationship between us humans and our environment and how that relationship may change depending on your race, gender, or class. What I'm getting at is a concept called environmental injustice. Environmental injustice can be defined as disproportionate exposure to environmental hazards and threats, as well as the unequal environmental protection provided through laws and governmental programs. Some examples you may be familiar with include the Flint water crisis or the Dakota Access Pipeline being placed on sacred Native American territory. Environmental injustice can include gun violence being concentrated in low-income neighborhoods of a city, or wealthy homeowners restricting access to public beach property to keep it all to themselves. The media does a decent job of informing people about cases of environmental injustice here in the United States, but what about abroad? Let's talk about one example in Bhopal, India. Bhopal is a small city in central India that was considered one of the greenest locations in the country. That was until the year 1970 when Union Carbide Corporation built a pesticide plant there. Is this the same Union Carbide that was responsible for the Hawks Nest tunnel disaster that slowly killed thousands of their workers? Yes. So, 14 years after construction, on the night of December 2nd, 1984, there was a leak in one of the pipes. This wasn't a minor leak either. As the moon set over the city of Bhopal, 30 tons of highly toxic gas dispersed into the air. Miles and miles of land were infiltrated with the gas, seeping into the lungs and muscles of the people. A whiff of the air left livestock falling dead. The people of Bhopal fell victim to terrible diseases and health problems. Some lost their eyesight and fine motor skills, while others had to live the rest of their life with respiratory issues and post-traumatic stress. The gas penetrated the bellies of pregnant mothers, and as a result, babies were often born premature or with birth defects. Government figures estimate about 15,000 people died over the years due to the leak, with thousands more suffering from injuries. So what was the aftermath of one of the worst industrial disasters in history? In 1989, Union Carbide agreed to pay $470 million to victims for damages caused by the disaster. The court ordered the Indian government to use part of the settlement fund to establish a group medical insurance policy in a hospital in Bhopal to specifically treat victims. When you calculate the total settlement over the death toll, this left only about $500 per victim with injuries and $2,000 for families that experienced a death. When asked about the settlement, public relations representative of Union Carbide, Kathy Hunt, stated that, quote, $500 is plenty good for an Indian. In July 2010, the Indian court reduced the charges against major company executives from homicide to criminal negligence and ruled them guilty. 35 years later, the people of Bhopal are still suffering and dying. Extreme toxin levels have seeped into the water supply, and debris from the now vacant chemical plant remains. Protests and demonstrations are held annually in the community, urging the U.S. government to hold Dow Chemical Company to take more accountability and pay victims what they are rightfully due. Being one of the biggest industrial disasters in history, what did big companies like Union Carbide even learn from this? Well, since then, there has been some improvement in safety measures and management in these chemical plants to prevent spills and keep workers safe. For example, Responsible Care was developed as an initiative for which chemical companies work to continuously improve their performance in safety, health, and the environment. However, not much has changed in terms of ending a cycle of environmental injustice and racism. Pipelines and plants are still placed in locations that minority and impoverished groups inhabit and are therefore more exposed to the environmental and health consequences. What we can do is learn more about these injustices and be allies to those who are affected in times of need by protesting, donating, and raising awareness. Thanks for joining me and see you next time.